Hi guys, hope all of you are doing great and staying safe and preparing very well for your coming exams. Let's discuss the topic direct and indirect speech, which is also known as a reported speech. It's a quick revision of this topic and I'm going to give you some easy tips. Now, what is direct speech? Direct speech is that you are going to report what somebody else said in that person's own actually words and you do not make any changes to that. That is direct speech. And in indirect speech, the message of the speaker is conveyed or reported in our own words. We are going to report what somebody else said in our own words. That is indirect speech. Okay, now let's take an example. Direct. Zia said, I'm very busy now. This is what Zia said. You're speaking in Zia's own words. So that is direct speech. Indirect speech. Zia said that he was very busy then. Now children, just look at the changes that you've made. You have removed the quotation marks. Instead of that, you've said yes, that. And then instead of I am, you said he was. Here it has become past tense. Was very busy. Instead of now, you have said then. So let's discuss some easy tips that you should be remembering in order to, convert this direct into indirect speech. Rules for changing direct speech into indirect speech. Indirect speech, children, is also known as reported speech because you're reporting what somebody else said. So let's see this reported speech chart. It's a quick glance on this topic, and if you just pay attention to this, you will be able to learn almost 75% of what is there in reported speech. So please pay attention to this very well. In the tense chart, you have this direct speech, and in the indirect speech, it shows how you should be converting it. Okay. Present simple, it becomes past simple. If it's a simple sentence, in present tense, it becomes simple past. For example, I live in the USA. Now, I've not given he said, she said and all that we'll be adding on in the indirect speech. I live in the USA. It's a simple present statement or sentence. How do you convert that to indirect? It becomes he said that, or he said he lived in the USA. Present continuous becomes past continuous. Children, I hope you all know that continuous means with ing. With the verb, you always use ing. So, for example, walking, talking, everything. So, direct speech. I'm walking. He said that he was walking because it becomes past continuous. So, was, past, continuous, ing will be there. Past simple becomes past perfect. Now you all should know, children, when it comes to past perfect, it has had in it, right? Okay, so I cooked pizza. He said that he had cooked pizza. Here you have to use had and cooked, it's past. So it becomes past perfect. Past continuous becomes past perfect continuous. That is, it will be past, it will have had in it or had been you have to use, and it becomes continuous means there'll be ing in the verb. I was watching TV. It's a past continuous sentence. How do you change it into indirect speech? He said that he had been watching TV. Please remember, children, wherever have or had is used, it becomes perfect. Okay, so present perfect or past perfect. Have, if it is used, it's present perfect. If it is had, past perfect. So you have to use had been watching TV here. Present perfect becomes past perfect. Now, I have worked. Wherever have is being used, as I told you, it's perfect. And how do you change it into indirect speech? He said that he had worked. Had will make it perfect and worked is past. So present perfect becomes past perfect. Present perfect continuous. Children, remember, continuous means always it will have, the verb will have ing with it. It becomes past perfect continuous. I have been studying. So indirect speech will be he said that he had been studying. Past perfect continuous. Past perfect. If it is only past perfect, there is no change. Like I had washed the car. He said that he had washed the car. Now had washed the car, it remains the same. So instead of I, you have to use he because you're telling what somebody else had said. Past perfect continuous also has no change. So as a clue to remember it very well, children, you should remember the two tenses in which there will be no change. That is past perfect and past perfect continuous, there will be no change. I had been sleeping, right? So the indirect speech is he said that he had been sleeping. Here, if you see had been sleeping remains the same. It does not change. I hope you understood, children. Please practice as many sentences as you can. But just before that, keep these rules in mind. And when you do it, you will see that you are mastering the topic. I just took this from the internet in order to give you a little bit more practice. Okay, it's a quick glance. Simple present. I told you simple present changes to simple past. I never eat meat, he explained. He explained. So instead of this inverted commas, you say he or quotation marks, he explained that. You have to use that. He never ate meat. Eat becomes past tense. Ate meat. He explained that he never ate meat. Present continuous. I'm waiting for Anne, he said. He said, you have removed the quotation marks, that he was waiting for Anne. Present continuous becomes past continuous. Was. Present perfect. I have found a flat, he said. Now children, I told you present perfect becomes past perfect. Have will become had, right? So you'll say, he said that he had found a flat. Present perfect continuous. He said, I have been waiting for ages. He said that he had been waiting for ages. Simple past. It becomes past perfect. Keep that in mind, children. I took it home with me, she said. She said that, sorry, children, he had taken it home with her. Here it has to be she, not he. That's a mistake, grammatical mistake. So she said that she had taken it home with her. Simple past becoming past perfect by the usage of had. Future. He said, I will or shall be in Paris on Monday. Now will become would, shall will become should or would depending on the statement. Now here you will say he said that he would be in Paris on Monday. So future tense, it becomes conditional. Future continues. I will or shall be using the car myself on the 24th, she said. She said that she would be, actually there's a small mistake here children, would be using the car herself on the 24th. That is the right answer. So future continuous is becoming conditional continuous. Now conditional statement. I said I would like to see it. Conditional remains conditional statement itself. I said that I would like to see it. There is no change in that, right? Instead of quotation marks, you're putting that. Now let's see about this modal verbs. Will become would. Say if it is I will work, in the indirect speech, you will say he said that or he said he would work. Will becoming would. Can becomes could. I can sing. So you will say he said or she said that he could. He said that he could sing or she said that she could sing. Must becomes had to. I must work. He said that he had to work. That is must becoming had to. May becomes might. May I help you? He asked. Here, children, you remember, because someone is asking you a question, we have to use the word asked here. He asked if he might help me. Shall becomes should. What shall I do? He asked. Now here someone is asking you a question, children. So in such direct speeches where there is a question, interrogative statement, you will say he asked what he should do. Children, just remember these rules very well and it becomes very easy. Now children, we are going to talk about statements in which there is some time reference. Time reference means maybe today, tomorrow, evening, like that. If there is a reference like that, then also there are some changes which you have to be very careful about. Now words which have nearness in time or place are generally changed into words expressing distance. So please, let's do these examples. You'll understand. And in the next slide, I've given you a chart. In the chart, how you have to change the time references that you will be learning. It's a quick glance. If you really pay attention to these charts that is there, definitely it's going to really help you in the exams. Direct. He said, I am glad to be here this evening. Now, this is a time reference, right, children? So, you will say, when you're changing it into an indirect statement, you will say, he said, instead of quotation marks, you'll have that. He said that. I am glad becomes he was glad to be here becomes there. This becomes that. And evening remains the same. He said that he was glad to be there that evening. Please remember to make, these changes. Here becomes there, this, that, evening, that remains the same. Now, please take care of this note. This and these are changed to that and those, unless the thing pointed out is near at hand at the time of reporting the speech. Now children, as I told you, this chart is related to time reference, those words which have to be changed. Now becomes then. In the direct speech, if you have now, it becomes then in the indirect speech. Do not forget this. All these words, please keep in mind. Today, that day, here, there, this, that. This week becomes that week. Tomorrow, the next day. Generally, it's better to write the next day or even the following day is not wrong. Next week becomes the following or the next week. Yesterday, the previous day or the day before. Ago, previously or before. 2 days ago, 2 days previously or before. Tonight becomes that night. Please pay attention to these words. Saturday, the previous Saturday or the Saturday before. Next Saturday becomes the following Saturday or the Saturday after. As I have discussed before, children, the shall of the future tense is changed into should. Future is what is going to happen or going to come. So there shall will become should, will become would or should depending upon the statement. The simple past, as I already told you in the direct speech, becomes the past perfect. This I am re-emphasizing this because generally children forget it. And I've already given examples. Please try as many statements as you can. First, go through these steps, learn them by heart, and then you attempt direct and indirect speech, and definitely you're going to score full marks in the exam. Direct. He said, the horse died in the night. Okay, this is an example of a simple past. Indirect. He said that, you've removed the quotation marks, no quotation marks in the indirect speech. He said that the horse died in the night. Now let's talk about the pronouns, children. The pronouns that are there in the direct speech. In case of pronouns, you know what are pronouns? Those words which are used in the place of nouns are known as pronouns. So the pronouns of the direct speech are changed where necessary, not always, children, where necessary, so that their relations with the reporter and his hearer rather than original speaker are indicated. So let's do some examples. It becomes very clear with examples. Direct speech. He said to me, I don't believe you. So he said, you can use that also, children. There's not wrong. Even without that, if the sentence grammar is okay, we can omit it also. He said he didn't believe me. So here I has become he, or it is she, depending on the statement. Direct. She said to him, I don't believe you. So when you change it into indirect, it becomes she said that she did not believe him. I has become she here. And don't, it has become the past, didn't. Direct. I said to him, I don't believe you. Indirect. I said I didn't believe him. I has become here I because it's talking about I didn't believe you. It has become him. Direct. I said to you, I don't believe you. I said, I don't believe you. Here I said to you, I don't believe you. So I said, I don't believe you. Now pronouns, it's just a chart. Please go through it. I reported in speech, it becomes he or she. So these are the examples. You can just go through it, children. But this otherwise also pronouns are not very difficult because if your basic communicative English is okay, you'll be able to do it very well. But still these points you have to keep in mind. Now, children, let's be very careful about this. If there is a statement, direct statement, which is given to you, which has a question in it, right? How do you handle it? The tips are here. Just follow them. Listen once, keep in mind, and you'll be able to do it very well. It's very easy because questions means there will always be a question mark, right? The first tip is indirect speech is introduced by some verbs such as asked or inquired, etc. When you are changing it into indirect speech, you have to use words like asked, inquired. When it's a question statement, when the direct speech is in a question format. And if there is no interrogative word, suppose in the direct speech, you have no interrogative word. Children, you know what is interrogative word? The WH words, that is what, where, when, which, why, and just one extra, how. They are known as WH words, interrogative words. They make a question. And if there is no interrogative word, then the indirect speech, it should have whether or if. I hope it's very clear. You see whether the direct statement is a question. If it's a question and if it has interrogative word like what, where, when, which, why, and how, then your reporting verb or the reporting statement or indirect statement should have asked or inquired. But if it does not have any interrogative word, then the reporting verb or the indirect statement or speech, it should have the words whether or if. In case doubt is there, please do ask me. I'll definitely clear it to you. Let's take some examples. He said to me, what are you doing? Now children, this what, it's an interrogative word. WH words, they are interrogative words. If that is there, what will you use? Asked or inquired. Indirect, when you change it into indirect statement, it becomes he asked me what I was doing. Direct. Where do you live? Ask the stranger. Now, where? It's an interrogative word, so you have to use words like asked or inquired. Where do you live? Ask the stranger. The stranger inquired where I lived. Do please change you to I. Direct. He said, will you listen to such a man? He asked them whether they would listen to such a man. Direct. Do you suppose you know better than your father? Jeered his angry mother. Now, how do you convert this, change this into an indirect speech? Indirect. His angry mother jeered and asked. Remember to, include this word and asked if he supposed that he knew better than his own father. Please do practice few direct statements, translation to indirect. You'll definitely be able to master this topic. Now let's take a topic, children, where in the direct statement you have commands and requests. Somebody is commanding something, ordering someone, and somebody is requesting someone. If the direct speech contains a request or a command, the reporting verb or the indirect speech changes to tell, request, order, command, etc. That is, you have to use these words in the indirect speech. Now let's take examples. Direct. Don't talk in the class, said the teacher to the boys. Now here teacher, what is she telling? Either you can say commanding or advising. The teacher advised the boys not to talk in the class. Here advised word has been introduced. Please give me something to eat. I'm hungry, the old man said to them. Now what is that? It's a request. He's pleading them, right? How do you convert or change it into indirect speech? The old man requested them. Here you are introducing the word requested them to give him something to eat and said that he was hungry. Children, please make a note that in indirect speech, you'd never have these quotation marks, okay? Direct. Be careful, said he to her. How do you change it into indirect? He ordered her to be careful. Direct. He shouted, let me go. Indirect. He shouted to them to let him go. Now here you will have to introduce the word to them, children, because he's shouting at someone, right? Now let's talk about those direct speeches where you have exclamations and wishes. Children, exclamations, you know that sign of exclamation will be there. So immediately in the exam, as soon as you see that sign, you should know it's exclamation and you should remember that rule which you have to apply. Note, the indirect speech contains verb expressing exclamation or wish. Example, direct. He said, alas, I'm undone. How do you do it into indirect? He exclaimed. Now this word is exclaimed word is not there in the direct speech, children. You have to add it. He exclaimed sadly that I am becomes he was undone. Direct. Oh, what a beautiful flower that is, said she. How do you change it into indirect? She exclaimed joyfully. Now these two words have been introduced by you. That was a very beautiful flower. Children, and in indirect speeches, after you write the answer, just read it out and see if the grammar part is okay. Direct. Alas, I have broken my brother's watch, said he. Now, what has he done? He has done something wrong and he's feeling sad about it. So you have to use a suitable verb there. He exclaimed sorrowfully. Here, these two words have been introduced. What did he exclaim? That he had broken, half broken, present perfect becomes past perfect, had broken his brother's watch. Direct. So help me, heaven, he cried. I will never steal again. Indirect. He called upon heaven to witness his resolve never to steal again. Sorry, children, there's a small mistake in this, okay? I hope you understood. In case you have any doubts, in case you want me to explain these topics in some other way, please do let me know. I'll definitely try to help you. Now, children, one more statement which is very important. Now, if there is a statement which has a universal truth in it or some habitual action, in that case, the tense in the indirect speech is not changed. Okay, now let's see. For example, the teacher said, the earth goes around the sun. It's a universal truth, right? That the earth goes around the sun. So here there'll be no changes in the statement that the teacher has said. When you change it into indirect speech, you will say, the teacher said, that you can use. You may or may not. The teacher said that the earth goes around the sun. Now there is no change in the tense here because it's a universal truth. We can often choose whether to choose the original tenses or change them. That depends on the circumstance, okay, on the kind of statement you've given. Please try a lot of universal statements, direct speeches, and try to change them into indirect. But the first thing that you should do is just go through the video, remember all the tips in mind, and then you start solving few statements. It's definitely going to help you. Thank you for watching Rivora Tube. Please let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or suggestions. Stay safe and stay happy, and best wishes for your exams, children.